everyone, welcome to another video of Talking Dental Innovation. My name is Justin. I want to welcome all my customers in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So for today's guest, we have Robert from Synca. So a lot of people know who Synca is. They're renowned to be known the Cadillac of dental loops, but they do offer a lot more than loops in the market. And one part of their offering is actually the Cadi brand. So Cadi is the imaging side of Synca. They've have many new great innovations in the last many years, and they keep innovating every single year as well. So today we do have a great new product from Synca, and I am going to let Robert go through all the details of the product, but also the benefits that the product can bring to your practice, mainly in terms of communication. So communication is always a challenge every day for everybody. And this is a great tool to just make sure you reach your goals with, communicating that right message to every patient. So Robert, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So today, I believe you have a PowerPoint presentation for us that you're going to go through. But first, if you can talk a bit about who Synca is and what Cadi represents, and a little bit about yourself and how, Cadi can help out, and Synca as well can help out our customers here in the Maritimes.
Okay, well, thanks. I want to say thanks and I appreciate you doing this and inviting me on, and it gives me an opportunity to explain a little bit about Synca and the products, and it's always great to have that opportunity. So thank you again. Synca's been around a long time. I mean, the company was started in 1986 by Raymond Manette, and the goal for him was to try to find products from around the world that he could bring into Canada that would really be better ways for dentists to work, and he looked at a wide variety of different, areas within dentistry, but he kind of focused in initially on some materials. And we were selling materials and kind of built the company initially on having really progressive, new materials that we brought on the market. We were some of the pioneers in amalgam and bringing certain amalgams to the market, and we kind of built our name around that. And we started off in Quebec, and then in the early to mid 90s, we expanded across Canada. And Gordon Christensen was actually doing courses for us on some of the materials that we sold. And he made us aware of the next big thing coming down the pipe, so to speak, which was digital X-ray. So we became one of the pioneers in digital X-ray. So we signed a deal with Schick Technologies back in 1996, and we were the first company to bring Schick to Canada. So we brought them into Canada. We sold them for 4 years. We had an exclusive agreement with them, and we started to integrate digital technologies into dental offices. The following year, we realized how important it was to provide important software platforms on good computers and computer networks. So we opened up a computer company and started selling computers and computer networks. And obviously the next step was to look at intraoral cameras. And at that time, we approached the #1 rated AccuCam. It was from Dentsply, New Image. They had an AccuCam camera line that we ended up getting the distribution for in Canada, and we brought that in. And we started to sell these. I don't know if you've ever seen these, Justin, but these old cart systems where you had like a cart in the corner with a computer and a screen, and the camera hanging on the side and the sensor hanging on the other side. And that was kind of the first integration of starting to use imaging and these new digital type of new patient experiences. So you were able to do a new digital patient exam, start taking pictures, x-rays, and getting them all on the computer, which really changed the way dentists started to use x-rays and started to use images. So, for us, it was a huge learning curve, a huge ramping. In the beginning, it was very difficult to sell, those type of solutions because nobody really understood why they needed them and how to use them and all these things. And then we just, from there, moving forward, we progressed on, with the technology that was evolving so quickly, we started to look at other solutions. So DEXIS came out. DEXIS became the #1 rated solution on the market. So we ended up getting that and bringing that into Canada. And we sold DEXIS for, I think, close to 10 years here in Canada. We were the exclusive sellers of DEXIS. And then we just kept on top of, other cameras. We brought SoPro. We had a private label SoPro camera that we brought in. So we kind of introduced the SoPro line into Canada. And we also kept on top of all the new sensors that were coming out. But this is where we started to realize the limitations of an offering that you invested in that was kind of a one solution. You could not kind of stray outside that product line. You had their software, you had their camera, you had their sensor, but they were pigeonholing people in. So doctors that wanted to change, it was very difficult to do this. They basically had to buy a new system and maintain both systems simultaneously, which didn't make sense. We also saw from selling a variety of different products, dentists were had a digital x-ray with the software. They had an intro camera that came with the software. They were using, some of them were using handheld, Olympus, Canon handheld SLR cameras. And then they were downloading this into Windows and using PowerPoint. And so now they had 3 or 4 softwares, and they were trying to use these images in a systematic way to show patients. And it was sort of like, these dentists that were able to do this were pretty high-techy kind of computer programming type guys that liked, to learn all that stuff. But most dentists and most dental staff, they weren't tech savvy. They didn't have the time to invest in all this. So this is where we saw the need for one kind of software that could do it all. So in the early 2000s, we started to research and look at what was out there. And we ended up partnering with a company and developing a product for the North American market that was open architecture, meaning it could work with a variety of different equipment, a variety of sensors, phosphor plates, cameras, pans, Ceph, you name it. You could basically pick whatever you wanted and harmonize it onto one platform and use it. And that way you could, eventually when newer technologies came out, you could upgrade, you could change, and you weren't kind of tied into any one particular company. It was just the smarter, platform, smarter business decision. And basically we called it Cadi. It's clinical applications in dental imaging. That was the acronym. And we had the opportunity really early on to work with a lot of progressive dentists. So a lot of those early adopters in digital x-ray we're working with some very progressive practice management companies that were teaching them, how do you run a successful business in dentistry? How do you manage your office? And, an element of that was the psychology and the communication with patients. And how do you now, enroll them for treatment? How do you present information? What is the structure of presenting information to people so that they can make better treatment decisions and getting them to invest in their oral health and getting them to value their oral health more. So we had a good opportunity all around the same time as developing the software is also thinking through the day-to-day use of images to impact the communication and the treatment enrollment. And this is really what we focused in on when we developed the software was, how do you take images daily and how do you get them and how do you present them and how do you now impact this psychology of the decision-making process to achieve higher case acceptance? Ultimately you're spending a lot of money on technology. You want a return on that investment. You want to get the most out of your technology. And this is what, the equipment was so expensive, and the irony was, it's the software that will control how easy it is to use and how easy it is to find those images, show those images, and present the images, and it really get the return on that investment. So most companies were not focusing on the software. They were focusing on these expensive sensors and these expensive cameras, but they weren't really thinking through, how am I going to use this easily day in, day out in that clinical routine? And that's what Cadi was really based on. Yeah. So yes, I know that Synca is known for now. We're known for our, we have loops and we have microscopes and we have other products, but we do have 3 divisions in the company. So we have we are still, very much involved in digital imaging. We're always up to date on the latest technologies. I'm very proud to say that this software is probably one of the most sold softwares in the world. We have now over 130,000 users. It's offered in over 50 countries. It's offered in 25 languages. It is probably one of the most refined and worked on softwares in the industry. And you can see it, like when you compare it to other systems, it is very intuitive. It is very easy to use, and it is really thought through from this day-to-day clinical way of working, which, the staff love the fact that when I show them how to do stuff, it's so easy, and they're like, oh, this is not bad, Meanwhile, in the old days, I remember starting to train people on certain softwares, and I would just get that look in their eye that it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I have to do this. And
or they would look at the doctor and say, why did you buy this? Why are you gonna
And then, what happened was I would go back in 6 months later and I would see that camera in the corner had that much dust on it. And it was just too difficult to use, and the staff didn't accept it. And then, the doctor would just kind of be like, if you can't get the team on board to, and understand and get really the benefits, they're not going to use it. So this is where we started to, focus on the training. And this is actually one of the big advocates of technology in the States is Dr. Larry Emmett. And he's a guy that's written countless articles on this stuff. And by far, he reiterates many times that, the one area that a lot of offices drop the ball is they don't focus on the training element of when they get new technology. So people buy all the stuff, but then they don't really think through the training and how do we now change the protocol, and how do we do a new patient exam, and how do we commit to taking those images and using those images. And so he says you have to really plan to get the proper training, to change those day-to-day protocols in order to get those images, to use those images to start to benefit from visual image communication, because it's huge. It really has a huge impact on today's society. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
So talking about images, cameras, I know Cadi is quite the system, and we really want to get into this at some point. But today, talking about new technologies, Cadi has had a camera out for a while now. Many of our customers have been really utilizing it. It's a great camera. I find it was one of the best in the market, but now they actually came out with one that's even better, right? So can we talk a bit about that? If I'm not mistaken, is it wireless? Is that one of the bigger innovations?
As we've gone through that, the evolution of the cameras and seeing technologies improve. And for sure, the big shift was to the, at one point it was the direct USB connection that was a huge benefit for a lot of people. And then there was wireless options, and there is, yes, this one is it does have a wireless option. But honestly, from my experience in incorporating a camera into your day-to-day routine, we've always been of the philosophy that if you're going to do it, you should do it right. And if you want to start using images in your day-to-day routine, you need to be able to pick up that camera, go in the mouth, take a picture quickly. It has to be easy for staff to use. You have to get amazing images with good details to explain what you need to explain, to show, those details that you need to show, like those open margins, those fractures, the underlying decay, all those things that are detrimental to patients, understanding the urgency of treatment, the need for treatment, and getting them to move forward and accept treatment. So you're not going to get that from, the inexpensive cameras on the market, and you're not going to get that, you're not going to get that reliability from the wireless solutions. Unfortunately,
Okay.
The wireless is interesting because, a lot of people, I think that maybe they can share it between operatories, and maybe they can, get away from the cable being, an issue, but I still firmly believe that a hardwired camera permanently in the op, easy, quick to go, reliable, easy to use, that's what you want, from you know, the hygienists obviously are the primary users of the intraoral camera that should be using it on every single patient. And from the doctor's perspective, it's a huge diagnostic tool. It's like a microscope on a stick.
Yeah.
You can use this for endo. You can use it to check margins. I mean, you know, you're getting up to like a 90 times magnification. There's so many ways that dentists can use this in their practice. So not only to communicate visually, but it's diagnostically, they can use this to improve, you know, the work they do and to evaluate and see things, you know, prior to treatment and stuff. So, you know, you want to have something quick, easy, pick it up, put it in, boom, you've got what you need. Okay. Wireless, unfortunately, it's not as reliable. You have, you know, X-ray heads, LED walls, you have, you know, computers with certain, you know, strengths and speeds and internet, you know, use and all kinds of things that come into play. And it's not worth, you know, the risk. So when you have something that is wireless, the lack of reliability and the lack of communication, for me, it's still not the right way to go. I still recommend that people hardwire in, do it right, have something reliable, quick to use, and then you're going to really start to get those images and use those images. So
it's interesting because a few years ago when you know the original camera from Cadi, the one we were selling, you know, didn't offer, you know, wireless, right? And more I was seeing all these cameras online that you can get for $500, maybe $1,000 wireless, and I was like, okay, why can't Cadi do this? You know, such a great camera. And by doing a lot of research, realized that, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, there's so much information that is in terms of file or file weight, you know, that needs to be transferred. If you don't have a cable, it's almost impossible. You know, these pictures are very, very large, right? And like you said, the communication, it's almost unrealistic to think that the quality that you're going to get, it's not, you know, it's not possible with just wireless. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're totally right. You know, and we're seeing this on many levels because now, you know, everybody's thinking about cloud-based and they're thinking about this, but on the flip side, they're using bigger and bigger image files. Now we're getting into 3D cone beam, you know, CT, and these are huge files. So the amount of time that it takes to transfer this information up to the cloud, it's taking very long, and it's behind the scenes that it's going on, but it does affect the network and the way things work. And so, you know, we're still not there in regards to the cloud-based, you know, everybody's working on this, but the speed and the size of the images are limiting us. So you're definitely dead on when it comes to there. And, you know, for a little period there, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but for a period there, you know, X-rays are, I would say, on the smaller size in terms of file size. And even they came out with wireless solutions. We sold a wireless Owandi solution when it first came out. Schick had a wireless solution for a little while. And they scrapped those products because the reliability is just not there. And when it comes to X-rays, I mean, that's your bread and butter. So quickly that came and went, you know. The cameras, because it's somewhat of a complementary type of technology, and the imaging is kind of seen that way. You still have some offices that think, oh, I don't need cameras because, you know, that's like a toy. It's not really something that has a direct impact, which I can't disagree with more. Like, I really think cameras are probably one of the most important tools you can use in your practice when it comes to the psychology of basically presenting treatments. Patients understand pictures 90 times better than X-rays. And if you really want to, you know, get them to fully comprehend the situation and to understand the treatments, that's where the intraoral camera really just involves them in a way, and it makes the problem theirs. So they see with their own eyes their own problem, and it's no longer for the staff to relay information in this gray zone of communication, which not sure what is going to get communicated by these little drawings on the napkins or whatever they do. That just doesn't fly anymore, when it comes to investing in your oral health. So this is the kind of thing that we really are, behind. We firmly believe in this. And, I think offices have to start to evolve with the times and realize that patients are, changing, and their ability to focus and to rely on verbal communication is no longer there. So, we're really more visual than ever. So you have to start switching the way we do things to have more visual means of communication.
Well, seeing is believing.
Totally, man. I use that in my presentation, man.
Do you now?
You nailed it. You nailed it. So, without further ado, if you don't mind, I can go into the presentation.
Sure.
It kind of reviews quite a bit, and then we can take it from there. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Good stuff. Let me see. Okay. So let me start it up. So just a quick little history on, I guess. Why is it on this slide? Hold on. Just get out of this for a sec. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Okay, here we go. So just a quick review of who I am. So I'm Robert Beauchamp. I have a bachelor's in psychology. I'm an A+ certified computer technician, and I'm also a digital technology specialist. I was actually hired in 1997 with the company just as they started integrating the Schick technology. So I started my days in dentistry with Synca at the exact same time that we brought in Schick. And from that time, I was the manager who dealt with integrating all of the product lines that are really specific to the digital technologies. And of course, as you know now, I work with Sinclair and support Sinclair. You guys are our client here in Canada that distributes the 3 lines that we carry, which is the Cadi software, the digital X-ray system, the Optimum sensors, and the Optiview cameras from Cadi. Okay, so I worked in conjunction with, these are some of those practice management gurus, so to speak, that I mentioned. So there is Jameson Consulting, Dr. Paul Homily, who gives courses and sells courses on communication and case presentation. Biting Edge Management, which was the arm of Fortune Practice, which is Anthony Robbins up here in Canada. He's based in Ottawa. The LVI Las Vegas Institute. Experdent, which was a company based in Ontario that did very similar practice management stuff. So these were some of the people that I did courses with and worked with, and we brought in. So when we look at images or / multimedia and how it can improve dentistry, it really has had a huge impact on dentistry because one, it will affect the diagnostic abilities of the doctor. It will have an impact on patient education, comprehension, trust, and comfort of patients. And it does directly affect the psychology of the decision-making process of the treatment acceptance, which we'll get into a little bit more later. So some of the current problems that I think dentists face in 21st century dentistry is, we've gone from these old kind of large treatments to much more preventative, conservative treatments now. We're trying to intervene a lot earlier, okay, than before. Where we did simple treatments to now we're getting very complex, multifaceted treatments. We're going from need dentistry to now more than 50% of what we're doing in our mouths are demanded. They're wanted dentistry. It's not necessity driven. So you have to deal with this as a practitioner. You have insurance coverage, which now more and more there's less insured covered treatments. So dentists have to bridge that gap and deal with that. And of course, we're going from a normal paced work environment to a very hectic and stressful work environment. So dentistry is changing on many levels, okay? If you look at society and how that's changing, we have, again, same thing on our side, increased pace of daily life, working more hours, stress is up, less time. You have the proliferation of information coming through. So, TV, it took 55 years for the television to reach 50% of the population. It took 25 years for computers to integrate into 50% of the households, and it took cell phones only 24 years. But now we're seeing that we're getting information from a wide variety of platforms, and it's overwhelming people. They're more informed and more confused rather than okay. When it comes to the trust, belief, skepticism, you're seeing more and more patients are actually going to the internet to try to find more information, second opinions, these type of things. The three most important aspects of choosing a dentist, according to a DPR survey, was one, that they felt that they could trust the individual, that two, the environment or the office was professional in the way they conducted themselves, and C was really that they were using state-of-the-art technologies and techniques. So I think this is, logical, and I think it makes sense. But, the trust and the state-of-the-art technology, I think, are tied together, which is extremely important. So trust and comfort really are the number one elements that dentists need to build with patients. And this is really where people need to gain that. And how do you do that? So part of that is going to be using images. Also, the state of healthcare is poor, in medical, and this is spilling over into dental. And this is where people are getting more and more skeptical and more worried and checking things. So you have to be able to reinforce what you're saying with images and what you're trying to achieve, okay? And when you look at the survey of who is the most trusted in the dental office, believe it or not, it was the hygienist, because there is no conflict of interest. People know that dentists are sole proprietor owners of a business. A hygienist is paid hourly. So no matter what they say, it's kind of there's no conflict of interest there. So it kind of just shows that people are aware, that a dentist owns the business, and that actually what they are recommending could be influenced by that aspect. Mm-hmm. So there is that little level of skepticism. So when you look at Dr. Howard Ferran in his presentation, he states that 70 to 80% of patients will ask staff questions on treatment validity and treatment clarity. So I don't know about you, Justin, but sometimes when I'm sitting in the waiting room, I'll be sitting there and I'll see a patient come out of the operatory, and they'll start talking to the secretary. So, yeah, he told me I needed a crown, and I don't know, I didn't think I needed that. So they're looking for another opinion. They're looking for validity. They're looking for reassurance. They're looking for, so there's something to be said there in regards to the trust and the comfort and the understanding of the treatment. Okay,
that's why it's so important to make sure that the message is very consistent, right, throughout the clinic, from from the doctor to the hygienist to the assistant to to the manager to the receptionist. I mean, the second there's a break in that link, there's going to be some confusion and some doubt, right? So because I know everybody comes from a different background. When I started in dentistry, for me, a crown was a very, from what I've heard from my parents, from my family, a crown was a big deal. A crown was you're going on vacation or not that year, right? But for other people, it's it's part of life, different insurance, different coverages, and different priorities. But the message throughout the clinic, I know we're talking here patient communication, but it's always very important as well. Make sure that communication between staff is on par as well.
You're dead on, because if depending in that one scenario I just mentioned, if that secretary says something that's contradictory to what the doctor said, that could be undone. Like all that communication could totally be unraveled and undone. And I remember that there was actually a situation like this, and I'll digress a bit, but I was training a hygienist on the use of the intraoral camera, and she was amazing. She was great with patients, and of course, has a great relationship with the patients already, because the hygienists see them more frequently. And there was this older lady who had to go to this reunion, and she had this old crown, these two crowns done on her two centrals, and they looked like the old, like two pieces of corn, like those dense yellow crowns that they used to do. and she had one that was problematic, that was failing. And she was telling her, well, that's great. You know, we can change that for you. We can get this done before your reunion. But she said, if we do one, she goes, the new materials these days are so good, it looks like a real tooth. But the other one is going to stick out like a sore thumb because it's an old generation. It was really opaque and yellow. And she goes, now we can whiten your teeth. We can make it whiter, and we can do these two, and then you'll look amazing. And I was just like, wow, she's, you know, really, you know, providing her a lot of great information for her to, you know, make a decision on what she wants to do. And she's like, you know what? And you can see she was getting excited. Doctor comes in, no communication with the hygienist, sits down, talks to the patient, says, oh, that's great. Okay. Oh, no, I see that. Well, okay. So this is the crown that we're talking about. Great. So we can change that. We should be able to do that for you. We could fit that in next week. Not a problem. And then she goes, well, you know, what about this one? Because we should maybe change this one. And the doctor goes, no, we don't want to change that one because, you know, we don't want to start removing that if we don't need to. And this is that. And then the hygienist jumps in and says, no, but I was telling her about, you know, this possibility because she's going to a reunion. And he's like, no. And then it became this, you know, challenge. You're challenging me in front of the patient, and the doctor got his kind of this backup saying, look, I'm the dentist. And it was just, and I was just going, oh boy. I was just like, okay, I just kind of left the room.
Right.
But that's where, you know, to your point, if the people are not on the same wavelength in terms of treatment philosophies, or if they're not talking or communicating or briefing prior to transitional scenarios like that, it could backfire. And
100%.
Yeah, so that's important. So, and you know, to the point where, you know, on this slide, you know, when you look at society, you know, we've evolved drastically from the way that we're ingesting information, the way that we're making decisions, the short-term thinking versus long-term thinking. You know, everybody wants it now. Everybody wants things quickly and all these things. So it's really evolved, all these things. So the question is has dentistry evolved with it? And this is where we have to see if dentists are changing the way they do things. And this is really it. Doctors now have no time. So then, you know, they have all these new materials, these new ways of working, which are longer, which take longer, and they have to stay on top of all these new materials and new ways of doing things. But then where do they find the time to fit in more education and more communication? They don't have the time to do this, right? But if you don't, what happens? Are you affecting quantity versus quality? A lot of dentists are trying to get more patients in the practice, but are you really exploiting your existing patient base? Are you improving your communication with them? They're already there. They already trust you. They're already working with you. Like these are the people that you need to tap into. Okay.
I think just a point before you continue, and one of my great customers, they mentioned a really very important point. You know, you're talking about that dentist and let's just change that one tooth, right? Well, instead of having that mentality of just doing one, you know, let's say one treatment, you know, at a time, you lose so much time by going through, you know, multiple, you know, more patients throughout the day that you would actually need, right? So I believe this comes with the communication. Make sure that you give a great picture with everything in the mouth to start off with. You know, instead of doing a procedure with, you know, 4 times or 4 chair times with one patient, how about once or twice, right? So you do save a lot of time by, you know, I wouldn't say convince, but make the patient understand that, you know, this can be done, you know, right away with, you know, again, with great communication. But anyway, sorry for the cutting off.
Yeah, no, but you're right, because look, like I had said, that now more than 50% of dentistry is really elective. It's really want-based dentistry. So, you know, if people do want to do the 2 crowns, then you know, that's where as a dentist you have to kind of have your own, you know, you have your own philosophy and treatment and mentality, and you know, depending on how you want to work, you know, maybe some dentists don't want to do that type of stuff, but, you know, there are people out there that will, you know, look for people to do more aesthetics. Like I had a very conservative dentist as a child. I had some interproximal cavities that were filled with composites, but the problem is over time, you know, I whitened my teeth, you know, being in dentistry, it was great. But then the interproximal, you know, composite started to really stick out and show. And it did bother me, you know, it bothered my anterior. So I ended up, you know, he didn't want to touch them. He didn't know how to fix it. He didn't want to touch them. And I was telling him, no, I want to get these fixed. You know, I don't like the way they look. And, but he was like, you know, I don't know if he was maybe not confident that he could do it better, or maybe the color matching on interior teeth, as we know with composite, is not easy. But I ended up finding a dentist that was cosmetically inclined, and he did it. And I was elated. You know, I really felt confident. I felt great. I felt like I looked good. You know, my teeth looked amazing, you know, and I was working in dentistry, so it was important for me. And I was selling intro cameras. So I was showing people my teeth all day long. So of course I made sure to tell the dentist that, so he did a great job. But it was important, right? So that's where there's that element where you have to, you know, figure out your culture and the way you want to, you know, work, and get your team on board, and then, you know, offer patients, like you say, the treatments, show them what's possible, and you'll be surprised what people will do. You know, you'll be surprised what people want. So the question here, again, getting back to this, was really the time and no time, right? So you're right there. They have to learn to manage their time better, but you have to look for ways to save time. And that's where, you know, using images to communicate saves a ton of time. That's the point there. Dentistry is voluntary. It's not obligatory. So, you know, dentists learn how to fix teeth, but you know, they don't necessarily, you know, knowing how to do it is not getting to do it. So they still have to enroll patients to accept the treatment. So how are patients making these decisions? You know, what is going on in their mind when you're telling them this is what you should do? And then there's always plan B, which we can do. And why are people going with plan B so often, more so than A, right? So that's kind of the question. Technical skills and communication skills, and they have not kept up. So there's nothing in dental school where they train dentists on how to communicate and how to enroll or sell, if you will. They don't do this. And as this was Homilie's term, was knowing how to do is not getting to do. They're two different things. And this is where, you know, if you look at what Homilie says, and even what Rockefeller said, 15% of success is based on your technical skill, and 85% is really on communication. So you have to improve your communication abilities and be able to do that. So right now, when you look at the population, 83% of our learning is through sight, is through visual, and we're being more and more visual with TV, with internet, with video. We're having less and less, you know, patients to learn from written or from spoken communication. And even the research shows that when you use words and pictures together, you get 6 times more effective understanding. So it's important that in a dental office, when you're communicating with them about these treatments, which are very already above their kind of understanding level, that you use pictures to complement the communication. When it comes to insurance coverage, obviously it's becoming more and more difficult. Coverage is minimal. It's not really what's best for patients, but it's what they'll cover. So this is where dentist problems start, is, you know, where that coverage stops and where they have to bring patients for treatment. They have to convince them to do this. They have to be able to add value to the dental treatment. So, and this is just a summary now to show you what really is happening in the dental world right now. So according to the ADA, the #1 reason that patients aren't accepting treatment is they don't see the need for treatment. Is that noise in the background me, or is that you? Is that, you know?
No.
No? Okay, I'm hearing on my side a little.
Oh, no. Besides the neighbor cutting his lawn there, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. 7 out of 10 patient files in the average clinic are incomplete or unaccepted. So 70%, which is a very high number. You have insurance companies that are dictating treatment. So basically, you're not getting the treatments accepted that you should be. 15% of success is technical, 85% is communication. And this is where Homilie recommends that dentists invest in taking courses on communication to improve case acceptance, instead of just taking courses on how to do certain treatments. So that's what he recommends. He also says a lot of patients make decisions emotionally versus logically, and a lot of dentists will communicate logically versus emotionally. So he says it's important. Hey, buddy, how are you? So he says that it's important that you start to tie into the emotional side, and using images really shows people how they could look, and it gets them emotionally excited about what you're talking about. So this is where it's important that we use that. Jameson again talks about dentists trying to get more patients, but not focusing on their existing patients and trying to improve their communication. And in a perfect world, yes, we would have patients that understood the importance of dental health, that they would budget and they would invest in their mouths, and they would keep their teeth healthy. They would want to keep their teeth healthy and beautiful for the rest of their life. And this would be the perfect world, but that's not happening. So why aren't patients doing this? What's involved in the decision? So what are people looking for these days in society? They're looking for trust. They're looking to tie into certain values. You're seeing this in the marketing of certain companies. You know, Walmart took business to a whole new level when they started, marketing, lowest price, and this is the price. It's 1937 because we work on a small fixed margin. We negotiate best prices, and when you come in, you pay the least amount. So they were able to tie into people trusting them at getting the lowest prices, and they did it. They brought the lowest prices and they took the market. They really took the market from the competition. They're looking for clear, concise communication and information. So people want to be clear on what you're saying and understand and make sure that it's clear. They want to be certain that what they're learning and doing is certain. They are confused. They want clarity and certainty. They want to be treated reasonably and fair, and they also want an easier life because they are overwhelmed. So this is really what people are looking for in society today. So when you look at the decision-making process, people break it down to these main steps. You have to know that there's a problem and the need for something. You evaluate that problem and the urgency. You're going to look at the implications of not doing something versus doing something. You're going to look at the benefits that it will provide you, and then, of course, the cost. So these are kind of the global perspectives of whatever we invest in our life. We kind of go through these steps. This is a very layman way of looking at it, but it sort of breaks it down in those steps. And then we're going to make a decision based on those steps. So how is dentistry tying in to these 5 steps, and are we providing the information that patients need to do this, to make this decision to invest in their own health? The number one, as we saw before, is gaining that trust and comfort and credibility. How do we do this? You provide multiple sources of information, by using an image and then your communication and then maybe patient education software or something else, or having the hygienist say the same thing that you say as a dentist. This is where you're starting to tie into these multiple sources, social proofs, and you're going to gain credibility, trust, and comfort quickly through using images and having your team on the same page and getting them to start saying the same thing that you're going to say. This is really how you start to tap into this.
Like, there's a good example I like to give out is I think it was in the 90s, Midas, Midas, the car repair shop, right? And like all of us, we go to the garage, and if they say, okay, you need an alignment, you need brakes or whatever, and you're like, you have no idea, right? If you're not a mechanic, if you're not, enthusiast in cars or in car mechanics, I mean, it's you don't know, right? And so they had a hard time really getting those treatments accepted, and so they decided to bring everybody, the clients back there, giving them a hard hat, and get under the car and actually see, what is the damage. Just by doing that, an extra step that took 5 minutes, their acceptance went up 20%. It's amazing. Wow. Amazing. Just by seeing, right? Just, okay, there's a crack in your muffler, you need a new muffler? Really? Right? And, but yeah, just by seeing it, there is a crack. Yeah, the brakes are, they are toast, right? Yeah. I think it's a great tool, just, as simple as, replacing. But again, you're talking about, doing a cavity repair, right? It could be $150. It could be $250. You go to Midas, you get an exhaust change, it's going to cost you a couple of $1,000, right? And they might say, you know what, right away, yes, I need my car, I do it right away, right? Okay, it's going to be $2,000 to replace your teeth. How often do you use your teeth, right? Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that really,
Yeah.
but it's the mentality of priorities, right? So
Yeah, it is. And, unfortunately, people don't understand that if they do the preventative work initially, which sometimes you won't even know, you'll avoid that $3,000 root canal post crown. So if you do the $200-300 now, you avoid the $3,000 in 2 years. So that's the problem. And that's, to your point, the Midas analogy is an amazing one, because that's exactly what we're asking you to do with the intraoral camera.
Yeah.
It's, how do you now show them the hole in the muffler? Well, you can't take them in their mouth, right? But the camera allows you to do this. So the camera brings them in their mouth, shows them what they're talking about, and allows them to see what you're saying. So it kind of takes the dentist out of the equation, and it introduces the problem to the patient, saying, here is your problem. And then you'd be surprised. I've had dentists that told me, it's amazing. I just take a picture and the patient goes, when can we fix that? Like, it's like, now, like, let's do this now. I want to fix that now, because they know that what could happen. And those smart doctors will have, a little library of images, and maybe showing what could happen. Like, here's, if we don't do something, this could be the result, and we could have advanced perio problems, or we could have, advanced decay, and then we're going to have to do the post-core crown, and then it's going to be $3,000. So people have to understand both sides of the coin, if they don't do something. So, that's an important element as well, to communicate the pros and cons of the scenario, which is important. So, technology, again, as we said, impacts the 3 major elements in dentistry. We know this. And you have to invest in the right technology. So this is where, when I say right technologies, it means when you're going to buy that intraoral camera, don't buy a cheap intraoral camera that's difficult to use, with the software that's not easy to use, with which can't harmonize everything and make it easy for staff to get the images. This is where you have to do it right, invest in the quality, and then commit to using it. And you will get huge benefits when you start showing patients the issues. And when I talk about multimedia in general, what we're talking about is intraoral cameras. We're talking about digital X-ray. And this is where, sensors over phosphor plate, this is where you're going to save time. Why do sensors outsell phosphor plate like almost 9-to-1? It's because sensors are much quicker to acquire images. That gives them more time to use the camera. So it doesn't affect the day. It doesn't delay things. PANs, CEFs, 3D, now they're starting to use all these things. Digital SLR cameras, patient education software, like, there was Casey that came around a long time ago, which would start showing patients what was possible in the waiting room. And then they had applications to show you, what is a crown, and what is a root canal, and what is a veneer. And then you can start educating patients with a third-party presentation, which again is a multiple source that provides more information, which touches on that trust, that comfort, that credibility. So again, having multiple sources of information taps into that psychology of the decision-making process. And then, image library. So every office had that book in the waiting room, which would show these treatments and these books that they would buy from these cosmetic dentists in the States. But the bottom line is, it's not their work, and can they do what's in the book? And so this is where it's better if doctors could start accumulating images of their own work and starting to really show what they can do, and patients in their practice that have done it. So, hey, you know what? Mr. Smith did this, and he's living here in this city and did this work. And why wouldn't I start thinking about doing this type of stuff and taking care of my health and making myself, look better, eat better, whatever, have a more functional oral health. There's even cosmetic simulations in the software that allow you to whiten teeth and close diastemas and do gum recontouring and crown lengthening and all these things, which can be done in seconds by the staff. But at least it shows people how they could look and what the treatment can result, tapping into that emotional element of the treatment. And then, of course, providing the professional reports and printouts and marketing pieces that people need to make that decision, to think about it, to mull over the benefits versus the investment. But by doing this, you are providing them more information and allowing them all the information they need to come to that decision. Okay, because if you don't provide them all that information, then they're unsure, they're still uncertain, and then they just don't move forward with the treatment. And then they wait till it's an emergency situation before something gets done. Okay, so when we look at how do we integrate images in the day-to-day practice, well, you have new patient digital exams, you have hygiene patients all the time that can be used imaging, recall patients that are coming in for, a recall, emergency patients that are coming in that usually are neglecting their oral health, cosmetic dentistry. If you want to get into that more and start promoting it more, you can use images to do this. Whitening, if 90% of offices are offering whitening solutions now, how do you start getting the staff to talk about whitening, showing what they can do? And of course, for the insurance, situations, imaging is great to support those insurance claims and to validate and get them going quicker. So this is kind of how you can integrate images in your day-to-day routine. And this is what we've kind of built our software around, okay? When you look at the new patient digital exam, this is where we're taking intraoral camera images and we're taking digital x-rays. Again, being able to have those images to have the trust with proof, the visual involvement, showing the patients those images. You have an anatomical charting from a picture point of view in the patient's file, which will protect you legally. It'll show those pre and post treatments. It'll add value to before and after images. You can show them the value of removing the amalgam and putting in this beautiful white composite or inlay or crown. It just, deals with that buyer's remorse element where people, now they see what they got and they feel much more reassured because they think that it looks and, will function much better. You can do co-discovery and co-diagnosis. This is something that is huge. When you sit the patient up at 45 degrees and you start using the camera and you start showing them for the first time on a screen, a live video of their teeth. And it's the first time maybe they're seeing the lingual of their teeth. And they don't know what to expect, but you're showing them, here, let's take a look at your mouth. Let's take a look and see what we have here. And then this is where the staff starts to look at maybe some areas and some concerns that you're going to document. And you're going to start talking about the treatment plan. And here's the strategy. Here's the schedule. Here's what we're going to focus on first. Here's what we're going to focus on second. But this is where you get this psychological involvement of them seeing their teeth for the first time. And that's where it's important that the team understands how to navigate this situation. You have to make sure you make them aware of what's good, what's bad. I remember when I was selling the camera and I'd go in and there'd be some plaque, I'd be so embarrassed. I'd be so shocked to show people my teeth because I thought it was disgusting. And I would hear positive things. Wow, you have really nice straight teeth, and wow, they're pretty white. And have you ever had braces? And I'm like, no, I've never had braces. And I started to feel confident about my mouth, even though I had this little plaque. I said, yeah, but I got this plaque. Oh, well, everybody has plaque. That's normal. Don't worry about it. That's why you have to go to the hygienist every 6 months. And, oh, okay. I didn't know this, right? I'm not a dentist. I wasn't a dental professional. So it was important that when you start using the cameras, that you also understand how to present information to patients so that they understand what is normal and what's not normal. Okay, you have to partner with the patient and experience their oral health together. Okay, the other thing too is, now you have problems that you can focus in on, and this is where the dentist wants the staff to start doing this. Start the communication to talk about the problems, show the problems, both inside and outside, so that people will understand the picture much better than the X-ray, but at least you're complementing both and they'll see the problem inside and out. Again, tapping into the trust and comfort. That's where you can now start to show the images of treatments, and you can use the images in your library to show what are the treatment options. Plan A, the best, way to go is this. This is kind of what I would recommend for my child or my wife. And then, I understand, obviously, if you can't do that or if the budget is limited, we can look at plan B, which might be what we can do in the short term, but these are the compromises, these are the trade-offs. So you want to show that visually and be able to communicate with them. And this will help, especially with new patients, you'll gain that trust, credibility, comfort much quicker by showing them exactly like you said with Midas, by showing them what you're talking about. Everything you're going to say, you back up with an image, and it's trust with proof. okay? For the hygienist, who is the natural communicator in the office, you can systematically incorporate visual tools, okay? They can exploit that multiple source of information. The most trusted individual is the hygienist. She starts to show that need for treatment. Seeing is believing, as you said. You can add value to the before and after cleanings, which people sometimes don't really understand what the hygienist is doing in there. Now you can show it. You can show pocket depths by taking pictures of that probe and how deep it is and how it's getting better over 6 months, 12 months to, motivate, the continued efforts that they're making to improve their oral health. And again, backing up everything they're saying with pictures, because that's how we're visually understanding these days. Okay, so the hygienist will actually help co-discover 50% of the restorative work in the mouth. Okay, and again, this is just reinforcing what I've been keep saying. They increase the understanding of the mouth and the need for treatment. They see this, it adds value to these treatments, and then higher value means more investment in the oral health. That's what's going to happen. It will increase the case acceptance and the willingness to invest when they start to understand and see these things. When they do the 3 to 6 month recalls, you can show this pre and post cleaning. You can show perial problems, inflammation, bleeding gums. All these things are much easier to show with pictures, pocket depths, all these areas of concern that the hygienist needs to start talking. It just saves her so much time, and they don't have to use models and flyers and all these things. They can actually show them in the patient's mouth with their own images. So it has a huge impact on understanding. The recall patient, again, as Jameson states, there's over $1 million in the average practice over 5 years that have not been accepted. So when you have somebody come back in and you have a camera now, you can now show them what you're talking about. You can try to use that visual communication to actually get them to do something now before it's too late. So again, one chance to revisit all those unaccepted treatments. Let's use the power of images to impact that and try to get them to do something. Seeing is believing, okay? Also, show the degradation. Show them how things are getting worse over time. That's where really you're going to get people to see what you see, and this is where dentists, it's up to them to relay all this information. But as you state, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So this is just going to expedite the acceptance of the treatment.
Keep going. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Provide your patients with improved experiences and reinforce the trust. So again, going beyond expectations of the care and service through images, it's easier and less costly to nurture existing patients than to find the new ones. Okay, so this is where Jameson says, add 5 minutes to your appointments, and in those 5 minutes, use images to communicate the problem, the treatment options, and you'll see how it will impact your acceptance. When it comes to emergency patients, this is another great opportunity to be able to show them exactly what is the problem and other problems that they might have. This is where the emergency patients is usually somebody that doesn't like to go to the dentist, is not doing the treatments, properly, not intervening early enough, and waiting to get the emergency. So this is where you can tap into attaining the trust and comfort with them, show them the need for treatments on all the other things that need to be done, and get them to come back and do the things now to avoid future emergencies. And they'll see this with their own eyes. So quickly display the problem, other problems, co-discovery, co-diagnosis again. And also with digital imaging, you can expedite emergencies by getting images quickly, getting the staff to do things. And the doctor sometimes doesn't even have to displace from what they're doing. So this is a big benefit also when it comes to digital imaging. Cosmetic. So if you want to start to promote more cosmetic, this is where the camera will allow you to show patients that need for the treatment, to do more crown and bridge. Digital SLR cameras are great for anterior cosmetics if you are getting into doing more veneers and more restorative cases there where you have the extreme makeover types. This is a way that you can build your practice as well. You can show fractures, leakage, open margins, underlying shadowing. This is all with the camera, but you need a camera that has fine focus, that has a macro capability that can get in there and show those details to, again, show that need for treatment. You want to be able to show images of the work you've done and images of patients that have accepted these treatments. So it again taps into the psychology of the decision-making process. And you want to be able to show maybe compromises. So if we don't do the optimal treatment, and this was funny because I remember there was that doctor in Ottawa I was telling you about, he actually had people sign off on a letter saying that I have chosen not to accept the treatment recommended. I've chosen to take a different treatment. And it was just a little bit of a way to put a little more emphasis on the responsibility of the decision-making process and allowing people to accept responsibility for the decision, you know? So it's like, look, if you're not doing what I'm going to tell you to do, I want you to sign off on it, and that's your responsibility. So again, I'm making them think a little bit about their decision and the compromise. So
they do when you're buying a car. I'm sure you've seen that as well. When you're declining, let's say, extended warranties or other, you know, products, it doesn't mean that they're all good, right? I mean, we all bought cars before, but like you said, it's just to put an emphasis on, you know what, this is serious, right?
Yeah. Sign here, initial here, you know, this is where it becomes a little more serious. So the intraoral camera also allows doctors to show the quality of their work. So they can really show what they've done. You know, most patients don't really know what a good margin is. So, you know, some dentists are worried. They're like, oh, I don't want to show my work sometimes. But the bottom line is the patients will just love the fact that they fixed it and that they see that the product is, you know, looks better than it did. You know, if it's restored with white versus amalgam, let's say, I think patients are just elated that it's white versus, you know, silver. So, you know, this is where you can just reinforce, you know, your treatments. And also, like I had mentioned initially, it's like a microscope on a stick. So it's great for endo if they're looking for that ever evasive MB2 canal, which everybody needs microscopes and stuff to see. You can use your camera, and this will help you to see these things. So, you know, a lot of dentists don't use, you know, cameras for these type of things, but they can. And I think it's just a limiting belief that they don't know that they have this microscope on a stick pretty much right now.
Right.
So it's great for that type of stuff. Again, generating the reports, great for insurance companies to expedite the coverage. It streamlines that whole process. And with the softwares these days, they're very easy to generate and print out and get off to the insurance companies and to provide the patients with something that they can take home and they understand exactly what the treatment is covered. So how to start? So one, you need to look at the software because it is that platform, that nervous system that ties in all of your imaging. It will tie in your intraoral camera, it will tie in your x-rays, it will tie in your digital camera, it will tie in your pan, etc. So all this multimedia has to be tied into this platform. You have to kind of decide with your staff what you want to integrate. Do you want to do this new digital patient exam? Do you want to start taking images on every new patient? What images are you going to take? And how are you going to take them? So that's something that you have to integrate. You have to tell the hygienist, okay, every patient that comes in, I want you to take pictures. I want you to get them up on the screen. I want you to start, you know, communicating with them, you know, some of the issues, some of those treatments that you know that I'm going to be recommending. And when I come in, I want to see those pictures and I want to make sure that, you know, you're briefing me on the pictures and the situation. And then I'm going to reiterate what you just said and, you know, say the same thing and definitely, you know, get them to hear it a second time and understand it better. And then it's that, you know, that repetition is the mother of all learning for the patient. So you have to start thinking about how you're going to do it. Do it right the first time and buy quality, invest in solutions that are going to allow you to achieve the image acquisition, the image quality details, things like that. You know, make sure that you're doing that, you know, to get the most out of it. Invest in multimedia. It will really have a huge impact on the decision-making process of the patients. And you'll see your case acceptance will jump. And commit to training the staff on how to use the technology and how to use the software and how to integrate this into their day-to-day routine. Make the time initially. You know, it's like anything. It's like the first time you used loops, doctor, it took a little time for you to get used to them and you probably took a little longer, but then after it really made your life easier and you probably save a lot of time. It's the same with technology. You have to go through the learning curve. You have to integrate, get the team on, change what you're putting in to change what you get out. But once you've adapted the change and it becomes the routine, then you're going to start to really see the return on investment. So do this. And this is what Emmett really stresses, is that doctors have to commit to this. Seeing is believing. So I'm not going to repeat, because I've said this many times. Show the patient through their own eyes, most effective information inside and out, magnify those issues, gain the comfort and credibility by showing images, trust with proof. That you just have to do this on a routine basis. Improve the comprehension and enrollment for treatment. Again, using images. It's all images. And the intraoral camera is the image that the patients understand the most, okay? And if the patient can't see the problem, they're not going to accept any solution. So they really need to see that problem. Images do speak louder than words, and communicate in the most effective, efficient way that today's society does. It's through visual means. So you have to do pictures with words. You have to provide that information they need to make the decision, okay? This is really how you get them to yes and get that acceptance, okay? So intraoral cameras, what are we looking at? The pros and cons of an intraoral camera. They are the easiest camera that you're going to be able to use versus a digital SLR camera. You get instant images right away in the computer. You get multiple surfaces images, where a camera, you can go around the tooth. I can show you the lingual, the distal, the buccal. I can show you all these angles, and it can be used as a transillumination device as well. If you really want to stress and show a fracture, a little bit of a different angle can allow you to do this and really show that need for treatment. You get much closer magnification live. So if you really wanted to use it diagnostically, it's great in comparison to an SLR camera. And then you have the diagnostic tools, like I was mentioning, and co-discovery, co-diagnosis. So doing this live tour of the mouth with a patient is really powerful to getting them introduced to oral health and the camera. And it does integrate easily in a day-to-day routine if you buy one that's easy to use. And that's the key. You want a camera that is easy to use. When it comes to the disadvantages, you're not going to get the best full face shot with an intraoral camera. Although this one does have a decent full face shot, it's not as good as an SLR camera. Same for your arch and your buccal shots and smile shots. Again, your best images there are going to be a handheld SLR camera. And this is where, you might have some that have multiple lenses and stuff. Don't do it. Buy the camera for intraoral images and buy an extraoral camera if you want the full face. Don't try to get a camera that can do it all, because they won't do it all, unfortunately. And these are the cameras that are going to be more expensive, and definitely, you can use a handheld SLR camera for personal use. An intraoral camera, I don't think you can use for personal use, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? So an absolute must is the intraoral camera. Not only does it aid in diagnosis and case acceptance, it also allows the patient to fully comprehend and understand the need for treatment. It is not until they truly understand that they feel comfortable about accepting treatment, and it is the complete understanding that creates value and trust. So this is exactly what I've just been saying, and this is by Dr. David S. Hornbrook. He's one of the leading cosmetic dentists in California, who's created umpteen cosmetic treatment products, ways. He's one of the most advanced and progressive dentists in the US, and I couldn't have paid him to write something more in line with my thinking. Trends in dentistry. Why are people buying cameras? The number one reason is patient education. Two, it's to increase the restorative case presentations. Cosmetic, also selling more cosmetic dentistry. Insurance approvals, again, high. And then it's just building practice, other reasonings for buying and wanting to buy. Enhanced diagnostics, treatment planning, managing operative procedures, image storage capacities, hands-on demo trial use, college recommendations, so recommending it by the dental colleges. So these were kind of the list of the top reasons to buy a camera back in the DPR surveys. So what do I look for when I evaluate? And I've evaluated over 20 cameras on the market. I want something that's automatic. I want something that the staff doesn't have to focus or turn or shift or push or this. These things will work against you. The staff will not use them if it's not easy to use. My camera is completely fully automatic, okay? You want one lens. You don't want to have to be changing lenses and moving things. And again, staff having to change things. it will not get changed and it will not get used. So if you need a uni lens design. Macro lens, what this means is you can get like right up to the enamel and get on focus. This is something that you want to show those need for treatments. You want to show the cracks, the fractures, the underlying shadowing, the decay, all those details that you need to make sure it's crystal clear in the patient's mind that there's a problem. And you need a really sharp image, obviously. You want the best image possible out there. You just, it's amazing when you see the sharpness of an image versus a blurry image, what you can see. Oops, my apologies.
And now for the new camera, it's better than ever, right? We're going to even better resolution, correct?
It's got the highest resolution on the market with a 1080, image, which the images are outstanding. When I saw the images, I was like, wow, what a difference. 720 to 1080. It really has a huge difference, and the images are larger, and and even like you can see that the fact that these images are larger, it takes a little time to focus and get all that resolution focused, but it definitely is, the image quality is amazing. Like I was blown away. Like I couldn't believe it. So I'm very happy, very excited with this new camera. And you want quick capture speeds. You want to make sure the images capture the image quickly so there's not any blurred images, yeah, which we definitely have. So this is the Cadi Optiview 2 camera, the new that we're talking about. It's a metal external shell, so extremely well made. It will be able to get through all the, those day-to-day scenarios where you bang, hit, it'll definitely tough it out longer than plastic. It has this full-time true autofocus, so you can go from a full face and be focused to touching the enamel and be focused automatically. It just takes a couple of seconds for the camera to self-focus. Again, full 1080 HD, digital image stabilization firmware, full aluminum shell, direct USB connection. It does have a wireless option to it, but again, as I mentioned, I'm not super crazy about the wireless option, but it's there if you do want to try it out in your office. There's a 90 times zoom on it, 2-year warranty. Really, the images are really sharp and crisp. You can see a lot of detail in the teeth and in the tissue. So really impressive when it comes to the images. 16-bit output. I mean, just look at the detail on that amalgam, on that margin. You can even see the pattern on the amalgam. You can see the pit. Really nice. CMOS chip, Sony, fog-free lens, internal infrared system as well. Unparalleled clarity, really good. And we programmed this to work with the Cadi software so that we can automate the image acquisition. So the buttons on the camera can be programmed to advance through the tooth numbers and then to take multiple pictures on that tooth number, which is what happens when you do this co-diagnosis, co-discovery. We start on 18, we do the tour into the 28, we go down 38 to 48. And when you start to do that, you start to see those teeth that you want to start to capture and document for the doctor. And this is where you can easily push buttons to get on the tooth number, and then you hit the other buttons to acquire the images. And you can get those multi-surface images on that one tooth very quickly and easily. And then once you're done, it's done. You don't need to go back in and then tag each image with a tooth number and all that stuff. So you save a lot of valuable admin time, okay? So, in summary, amazing communication tool with this improved image and detail and clarity. It's really going to help for that enrolling and that trust and that understanding of the need for treatment. It's a great microscopic tool for the dentist to be able to go and look at those details up close. It's going to be the easiest and fastest camera that staff can just pick up and take pictures quickly on the go and get those images you need to enroll patients. And the automated acquisition in the software saves valuable, time so that they can focus in on the communication of the treatments, and just free them up for the next patient and stay online with the workflow. So really the goal is to invest in these quality products that will expedite image acquisition into the software. And you have to invest in quality. Unfortunately, you get what you pay for. And if you do go with a less expensive, cheaper type of solution that doesn't achieve what you needed to do, then you're going to be biting yourself on the back end with, not great case acceptance, not great communication, not great staff compliance, and this is the bottom line. And cameras, when we sold a quality camera, I mean, heck, it's been, I was talking to a client this year who still had the cameras that I sold from 1999.
Wow.
So he's had them for 20 years. It was the SoPro camera, the 595. It was a metal handpiece,
Okay.
Fiber optic cable, and it was still working. So it's not like one of these things that you buy and you change every 3 years.
Yeah.
It's sort of like loops. When you buy loops, you have them for 10, 15 years, and they're nowadays they go $3,000 to $5,000 is a great set of loops, but over the life of 10, 15 years, it's nothing for this visual aid that you wear all day long that affects your quality of work. Same with the camera. You buy a camera, I think the camera retails for, what is it, Justin, around 5,000, I think?
Yeah, ish. Yeah. I mean, it's it could be a little less than that, but I mean, you're talking about a very good quality camera. I found the ones that are even, close to the same quality. I've seen 6,000, 6,500 for competitors. So I believe it's amazing value for what it is as well. And now that it's full metal, it's even better, right?
Yeah. And I mean, look, then this is where you're looking at investing that, if you set up your 3 operatories and it's 15,000 and it's going to last you 15 years, 10 to 15 years, and it gets used every day, you're going to be surprised on how quickly you can just get, like, if you get 1 or 2 cases accepted because of this better visual communication, it sort of pays itself off that month, so, and you're seeing like 200 to 240 patients in a month. So, just imagine, how this can help you diagnostically and communication wise. So, so I mean, and then, here's just some of the bibliography of where I pulled out all the information. So, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present that, Justin. I mean, I'm passionate about this kind of stuff. I've been doing it a long time, and I really think, offices can really benefit from better communication through pictures. And, as you said with the Midas analogy, I think that's dead on. And I really think that dentists, if they start to routinely do this, they'll just get people to do more. And by doing more, they will, not only will they increase their revenues, but you just feel better knowing that you're getting people to do the right things in their mouth, and you're getting, people to say yes to taking care of their oral health. And that's what dentists do all day long, right? You want people to take care of their teeth and be happy and functional and live, a quality life. And imaging allows people to do this. And so the right combination of imaging tools with the right software that make it easy to do day in, day out, that's where you're going to get the most out of your, your x-rays, your pans, your intro camera, and, your 3D. And that's what Cadi's all about. So,
no, I think you hit it right on the nail. It's a system that, it has to be integrated, right? I mean, you have to take the time, you have to be patient. Somebody that's never used this before is sometimes they're going, oh, well, I want it to work right away, exactly how I want it, and that's it. No, it does take a little bit of time, like any type of technology, but after you're giving yourself the time, it makes a huge difference, right? In terms of how they operate their clinic. I've seen it firsthand with my boys going to the dentist, seeing their mouth, and they were even, impressed, right? I always believe it's such a communication tool, but at the same time, if you can convert your patients into fanatics, into patients that, they find their dental health as something that's not just, a burden, but something that's exciting. You take that patient that is so proud, right? That their car is immaculate condition. It's somebody that is taking care of their home really well. They're going to the gym all the time. They're taking very well of their body. Well, you're going to take those images, like you said, lingually. They're going to be, pretty serious about, making sure that part of their life is up to par as well, right? Maybe it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's something that's off, they're going to be very concerned right away. You know, it's a very good tool. And one thing I always mention as well, you know, you talk about sharing what they've been doing in the past for other patients. Having a great TV in their waiting room showing those other cases with those images that you took is a huge tool, right? If I'm a patient that has, let's say, huge diastema, I live with that for my entire life. And my dental team that I work with throughout my life is, let's say, concerned that they're going to hurt my feelings if they bring it up, right? But let's say I've been, you know, kind of told all my life or believe, oh, if I want to fix this, I need ortho and it's going to cost me $6,000, or I need to have crowns. But maybe I didn't know that maybe, you know, maybe some $200-300 composite will fix that issue. But nobody's told me this because they're going to be upset. Well, if they take pictures and they show me the picture and I see myself, okay, well, this can be done with a few different, you know, options. You're going to give your patient, you're going to give, it's a favor you're giving your patient, right? Because they're relying on you, you know, as a dental professional to give you all the best, none of the best options for your needs. If you don't know about them, you're not going to take that decision, right?
Exactly. And like, there's a couple of things I'll mention to that comment. So one, patients don't know, they don't know what they don't know, right? So
Yeah.
they don't know what you can offer. So
Yeah.
a lot of these offices do, you know, they're starting to integrate in their waiting rooms, like things that will present what are possible treatments. And I think that's very, very important that they do that, because dentists don't have the time to explain everything they can do for you in your mouth, right? And, you know, and even if they did have the time, they don't know those people that are gonna, you know, do it, right? So they're not gonna sit there and talk to people for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, to try to see if they're going to do something. Because if they say no, well, that's a complete waste of time. So it's good to have that in the waiting room, because it will extract the people that are interested in maybe doing those type of treatments. But, you know, a lot of them, what they might do is on that new patient questionnaire is they can add a question to it that states, if you had a magic wand, what would you change in your mouth?
Yeah.
Or, you know, what's the most important thing to your teeth? Or, you know, are you happy with the color of your teeth, etc. So
Exactly.
that's where you're starting to get people that might say, well, you know, I wish I could close this gap. And then that opens up the conversation to get them to start saying,
Yeah.
oh, you know, we can help you there, and we can do this and we can do that. And these are the options. Let me show you some of the cases we've done, whatever. So it is very important. And to your second point, you know, I think when you start using the intraoral camera, I think what's the impression that it makes on people is that, you know, it's sort of a high-tech tool. And, you know, when people go see the dentist, remember those 3 criteria that people, when they choose a dentist, what were the most important thing? One was trust and comfort, professional. And the last one was that they're using the most state-of-the-art techniques and tools. So when you start using the most state-of-the-art techniques like a camera and start involving them and showing them, one, you look like, wow, you're a high-tech kind of guy. And
Yeah.
wow, you know, you're impressing me. And it puts in their mind this, well, you know, my doctor does this, and my doctor's using this, and my doctor's really doing this. So the thing is, they start to now think of you on another level, and they think that you're progressive and that you're in the know and that you're kind of high tech, and that, wow. So when you start recommending certain treatments, they're going to be even more trusting, and they're going to even be more like impressed and say, oh yeah, you know what you're talking about. I mean, look at all this high tech stuff you have. But it's also, you know, using it in the right way and making sure they benefit in the right way. So
Exactly.
So you know, to your point, I think it's true, you know, and you will start to get people that will notice the difference in the way you're treating them. And when they do talk to other people about how their dentist is, you know, well, yeah, when he showed me pictures and he showed me what he could do, and this is why I did it, and now look, I have no more gap, and look how, you know, much I feel so much better looking, and, you know, I'm so confident. And the next thing you know, they tell 10 people, and then you have, you know, 10 new patients coming to your practice saying, you know, I want to see what you can do for me, type of thing. So there's the whole word of mouth thing too that comes into play. So
100%. Yeah.
So I mean, we have to change what you're putting in and change what you get out. You have to evolve with our patient base. We have to start integrating better ways to communicate. And we have to start just being smarter about how we work and how we do things. So, you know, an intro camera will save you time, improve your communication, help with your diagnostics, and really impact the patient understanding and comprehension, and will elevate the value of oral health and case acceptance. And it's just really, what camera do you buy and how do you integrate it? And I think we covered that today. We covered some of the key points. And, you know, in terms of the software, which will, you know, facilitate the integration and the usage for the staff. And that's the most important element. So, you know, once you do that, you commit to the training, and then once you've trained, you're good to go. And then they start using it, and then you'll see the power that images have on all those elements. Yeah.
Perfect. And like we talked about at the beginning of the video, the other side of that is really, you know, taking advantage of that great software as well, because obviously it's very, very important to make sure everything is, you know, working well together. So, you know, hopefully we'll have time and another day to maybe go deep down into the software itself and discuss as well with the sensors too, because I mean, you know, they all kind of look the same, all these little sensors, but they all offer, you know, big, you know, advantages, and to make sure again that you pick the right one for your clinic, right? So, but yeah, no, I want to thank you so much for the very, you know, thorough presentation about, you know, imaging and how it can impact our day-to-day lives in the practice, how it's so important to make sure that everybody is well informed, right? And you know, like I said, not just for the patient, but for, you know, the staff as well. So, and again, I want to apologize for my little my little distraction, life of COVID. Yeah, so he wanted, I told him if he was a good boy that he could have a free jumbo Mr. Freeze, and that's what he wanted. So I guess it was time to pay up.
Yeah, there you go. Good job. Good job. He did a good job, so he deserves it.
There you go. So again, thank you, Robert. And you know, I'm sure if anybody has any questions, they can, you know, we'll have this on YouTube and other platforms will be answering any questions that we have. If anybody of my customers that wants more information about any of the products or you know, pretty much anything we talked about today, just shoot me an email, give me a call, or write down in the comments, and we'll, you know, we'll make sure to get back to you and you know, give you more of that information. But you know, again, thank you for the time that you're giving us today. And you're starting to be a little bit more impatient. And yeah, we'll definitely talk next time.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for this opportunity, Justin. It's a great platform. And yeah, please, if any of your clients have questions, just forward them to me as well. And I'd be my pleasure to respond. And yeah, I look forward to doing more of these. You know, I'll definitely love to explore the sensors and get into the criteria that I've used to evaluate over 25 sensors. Yep. And also talk more about the Cadi platform and how to use this in a sequential fashion, you know, you know, basically the clinical applications of the intro camera images and the x-rays, and how easy it is through the software. And you know, this is why I think we've really achieved such a great success with this combination of the best in breed, so to speak, of software and hardware together to really impact you know, improving the way dentists work day in, day out. So again, thank you. Have a great day. And if you need anything, don't be shy to contact me.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.